There are dystopian innovations that seem to touch every facet of life here. I ran into one example of this while attempting to rehydrate. No? Can I use this? No? Doesn't work?
No.
And it has to do with these things. QR codes. You know the drill. You scan the code and something pops up on your phone, like a promotion or discount. America laughed these things off years ago, but here, they run the entire economy. Cash and credit cards are history. Instead, you scan QR codes to pay for everything. Restaurants, groceries, even buskers.
You just can't opt out. Today I want to try to get across to you how deadly serious I am when I say you need to get rid of your smartphones. I want to show you, I want to try to pack into one video all of the things that I have learned about where the global controllers, the technocrats, the world communists, where they want to take us. And I want to show you what is really happening now. I want to show you how they're going to sell it to you. I want to show you what experts have said. It's truly a nightmare world. And I know this is going to be a scary video. And I don't care if people accuse me of fear-mongering. You're going to see by the end of this that this is exactly what they are building. They are grooming us. I'm hoping that this video can show you that you are trading convenience for slavery. They tell you it's great. They give you the sales pitch. They make themselves indispensable to you. And that's when they start to invade. And that's when you start to realize you're trapped. And by then, you start to be filled with shame and there's nothing you can do. So a lot of people start to pretend that they like it. They start to pretend that they're okay with it. They start to make excuses for it. The only thing they have left at that point is the little bit of the advantage that they were roped in with in the first place.
We can buy the meal before we go.
Well, why are we paying for the meal before we even go to the restaurant?
Because it's a little bit cheaper than paying there. We pay at advance, maybe we save like $3 or $4.
There is a tried and true formula for weaseling in to a person's life. This is what predators do. And a lot of times it starts with getting people addicted to something, whether it's your attention, whether it's an actual drug. And in the case of the smartphone, you really are addicted.
We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine.
Did you ever think smartphones would get to this point?
No, I definitely would never have thought that I would need my phone so much. And need is the key word, not just want.
I don't drink coffee, but I do have an addiction, and here it is. Now, what is it you do here at Dopamine Labs?
Yeah, so we use AI and neuroscience to help apps become more engaging and persuasive.
In other words, more addictive.
It's not an accident, it's a conscious design decision.
And there's a whole lab at Stanford that teaches students how to apply persuasive psychology principles into technology to persuade people to use products in a certain way. So it's not about giving you all this freedom, it's about sucking you in to take your time.
We kind of knew something bad could happen, but I think the way we defined it was not like this. It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works.
It's a dependency. So that's stage one of grooming. And I hear that reflected back at me with comments like these. And like this. The smartphone is a tool, nothing more. Responsibility for its proper usage lies with the user. No, that's not true. We can be forced into using it in ways that we don't want to. And that's why I say ditch it now. If they don't get enough numbers on that market penetration of smartphones and people with mobile data, they can't bring in this plan. But once they reach a certain critical mass, All the people who are addicted to the apps and have chosen to go down that road of slavery, they're going to pull everyone else in too. We won't be able to avoid it. You can't opt out. And then once you're in the system, once you're being tracked, it's all bets are off. You're in. It's like Eve with the apple. It's like the vampire knocking on your door. You have to let it in, but once you let it in even a little bit, you can't get rid of it. Listen to this. These guys are Westerners, and they went to China to work in the tech industry there. So they should know what's happening, right? Well, just listen to this.
You jaywalked and you had facial recognition.
The craziest thing, I actually got this. Yeah, so I was jaywalking in Nanshan, and all of a sudden I got a fine to my WeChat.
Was it instant?
It was about 20 seconds after, I guess. And I had money in my balance, it just went straight out. And this is just the most incredible thing. It just came straight out.
Didn't even authorize it.
And that was incredible.
That's crazy.
I is then very, very worried that they have your face in the facial recognition.
They have everyone's though. I mean, when you get across the border, they take that picture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's all in the system. They know where you are.
That's scary.
See how shocked they were when that guy said that he jaywalked, and instantly they took the money out of his bank account for the fine for jaywalking. You see how shocked they were. They didn't think they thought they could just go in the door a little bit. They thought they could just have a taste. But no, you're in or you're out. And once you're in, you're stuck in. And you know what else? You're going to have to pretend to like it. Because pretending to like it is part of the game. This is a complete invasion of who you are. Look at this scene from the documentary that Vice made when they went over to China. Listen to what happens to this man.
Zhang Yingjie co-signed a loan for a friend who later skipped out. He paid his share, but the local court didn't care.
我前2天去淄博，赶上暑假没有票了，我就得买这个头等舱。结果是说你信用度不够，不能买头等舱。我回来没办法，不能还是没有座位，回来坐这个大巴。高铁不是3个小时4个小时就到了，大巴车得10个多小时。
4 million people have been blocked from buying high-speed train tickets over low social credit, and more than 11 million from buying flights. To raise his score, Zhang gets in line at a local community office to donate money the government says will go to charity.
捐100个居多哦。手写字吗？
我现在已经通过训写，通过捐款啊，通过做义工来给自己加分。
The system might have caused him to suffer, but Zhang is unwavering in his support for the government's push to score him.
这是通过这种制度来约束很多不自觉的人。
You're gonna have to smile while they do this to you.
You know, when China is looking at this problem, combined with these new payment experiences networks, identity now has just become as simple as facial recognition with a smile. You actually don't have to smile, but it helps for the experience and psychology side of this.
自觉的人。
Now, in lots of articles on this, you'll read that it's not a private matter. They publish this stuff in parks and on billboards. They publish those people who have lost points in this system. You see, here's a fine point to remember. They'll start you off with 1,000 points. Everybody gets started off with 1,000 points. And anything that happens will demerit you. Okay? And they're rolling this out in thousands of precincts, or whatever they call them, down over in China. So that each one is testing out just a little bit different measures, and then they're going to aggregate all this data and find the best, most efficient method of control for these people. And as you can see from what happened there, the guy had to go make donations to charity to try to get his score back up. You talk about a giant bribery scheme. Nobody knows where that money goes. And look at this little snippet from an article from The Nation. They're talking about one of these areas where they're experimenting with the social credit. So they're talking about everybody starting off with this 1,000 points, and they say how you get points. Pruning a neighbor's tree earns 1 point, as does taking an older person to hospital. Getting a car out of a ditch is worth 1 point. Helping to read a water meter or lending tools is half a point, and it goes on and on. Commodifying normal human interaction down to helping someone read a water meter or lending them a tool.
By 2020, China plans to track, rate, reward, and punish all of its citizens, essentially turning every personal experience into a transaction.
There's more in that article. Liu Jian Yi, 64, a former farmer, said, "Previously the village paid for cleaners, but they didn't work well. Now we do the cleaning ourselves. It gives us points and saves money. He used to travel the country working construction, blah, blah, blah. I've just mended a neighbor's chimney. If I report that to our party leader, and if my friend confirms it with a photograph, I should get another point. We get our scores at the end of each month on a WeChat page, but I don't own a smartphone," he says. And then he talks about special people asking for projects to be done. And these people got approved even though they had no experience. He says none of them had any qualifications, but it got through anyways thanks to a few bribes. And he's supposed to give us points? Makes you wonder, said the man. It's not as fair as it sounds. It's not as neutral as it sounds. There's still bribery happening in these Chinese villages, even with this social credit system. Will there be need for courts anymore, and judges and juries? Will it just instantly decide what you've done wrong? Will we ever get to plead our case and show extenuating circumstances? Are we ever innocent until proven guilty anymore in this land?
And the mechanism we have right now, the best mechanism we think we're going to have for that over the next 20, 30 years will be blockchain-based systems combined with artificial intelligence. We need to code laws and regulations into computer code because it's no longer a process that a human is involved in. It's now relegated to a machine.
I hope you're getting an idea of how dystopian it is. I can already feel what you're saying. The guy admitted, but I don't have a smartphone. Yeah, right. He's still suckered into this system, even though he himself does not have the phone or the data. So all of you out there congratulating yourself, I don't have one. It's not good enough to just stay quietly and try to hide in the corner and hope they don't notice you. You're not going to escape. We have to actively discourage smartphones and apps. I'm sorry, but this is the grooming phase. I want to take you now to a guy called Brett King. Brett King, this is a YouTube video, which I'll show you pieces of in a minute. He is a futurist and best-selling author of books like The Augmented and Bank 4.0. He founded the fintech Moven, the world's first mobile downloadable bank account. He also advised the Obama administration on fintech policy. Right. A downloadable bank account. How do you figure? What does that even mean? Basically, about 40 minutes into the presentation, starts dawning on me and dawning on the audience that what he's really saying to them is, you don't have a job anymore. I'm sorry, it's over. This industry is over. There's no bank anymore. It's fintech now, and it's totally different from normal banking. This does not have money. No money, just pretend, just credits. And there's no financial advisors anymore. He tells them basically at the end of this, by the way, learn to code. I kid you not. That's what he says. Your only choice, your only hope of surviving in the new economy is by learning to build the AIs that are going to run the world. Listen to just a little bit of his speech here, and it's worth listening to the whole thing, but he is a slimy snake. And the hour is filled with visual images of rockets and, you know, the old Model T Fords to get you feeling nostalgic about this robot raping that we're all about to undertake. Listen to him talk about the new banking model.
You have to understand that technology is going to change the nature of banking itself. And that would have to start with the basic bank account or a value store. So when it comes to what we're seeing in terms of investment today, what's happening is you're not getting people just look at digital onboarding. You're seeing from the perspective of investment and savings, looking at behavioral mechanisms behind savings and investing. So this is the change. It's a behavioral framework around the value store, not a product framework. So when you look at how this might evolve, a great illustration of this is happening in China right now with ICBC, with their AI investment platform. Now, what they do is they monitor your behavior in terms of your portfolio to produce a very detailed risk model. They've eliminated the risk profile questionnaire as part of the investment process. Now, from a perspective of a regulator, you might say, well, this is a problem because we need that risk profile questionnaire to understand your risk profile and then understand that you've committed to that risk contained in that investment product. But that's iterative thinking. First principles design thinking is, well, let's monitor your behavior and learn how risky you are. And if that risk is a problem for you, let's change your behavior over time by educating you, by giving you the right behavioral triggers. We can tell you the best day of the week to prompt people to save. We can tell you the exact time of day when is the best time to message someone to save money. Behaviorally, we created a behavioral savings process, not a savings account.
Behavioral, not products. What he's said there to them is that normally banking is about savings accounts, investments, and credit. No more. Those are banking products. We don't care about those anymore. What we care about now is behavior. He said it. He said it multiple times in there. He said it clear as day. I mean, he just told you that they know all about you. And they're going to teach you. They're going to educate you. That's what banking is now. I mean, what does that remind you of?
这是通过这种制度来约束很多不自觉的人。
Why is this related to smartphones at all? You're saying probably, and I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining how. Unless you hark back to the grooming thing. On the smartphone, everything is infantilized. It's all gamified. You get points, you have ding-dong sounds and music, and you make little avatars, and you can dress your avatars up, and you can put filters on yourself so you have like cat whiskers and dumb things like that. It's all dumb. It's all just a waste of your life. It's fake. As Max Kaiser calls it, it's the casino gulag. And they're building it by slowly convincing you that this online world is better than this real world. And that the less you use the real world, the more you're helping the real world survive. And they're disconnecting you from the realness of cash and understanding that the transactions are real. You can't hoard. You can hoard cash. You can save it. You can hide it. You can do black market transactions. You could pay a babysitter. But in this world, Bank 4.0, social credit world, you can't hide any of that. You can't even save because at a moment's notice, they can take it away from you for walking across the street when they don't want you to, or for not lending your neighbor a tool. You see how it is? And so eventually, you live in a world that's completely sterile. There's nothing to do. The only things you can buy are things for your stupid cartoon doppel. Because, hey, it's better for the environment. We don't actually produce things. We produce fake things. And you've gotten slowly used to it by looking at a screen all day, by having all of your interactions this way. And then after a while, isn't it just annoying to carry this thing around? Listen, Bank 4.0 guy talks about how this is just temporary.
In the future, you're just going to identify the person based on a set of data. You know, what they do, what they look like, their defining biometrics. These are elements you will confirm the identity with. Banks may be one of the trusted parties that seed identity algorithms into, you know, whatever databases, whether it's a public database or a commercial private database that's created for identity. But identity is going to be this collection of data about you that makes you uniquely you. And this is how we'll combine it, you know, combat identity theft. So when we look at the next 20, 30 years and the building blocks of financial services, what is clear is that there's some big changes taking place. You know, when China is looking at this problem, combined with these new payment experiences networks, identity now has just become as simple as facial recognition with a smile. You actually don't have to smile, but it helps for the experience and psychology side of this.
We are not far away from that.
Your phone is already an extension of you. You're already a cyborg. Most people don't realize they are already a cyborg. That phone is an extension of yourself. It's just that the data rate, the rate at which, of the communication rate between you and the cybernetic extension of yourself that is your phone and computer is slow. It's very slow. And that is like a tiny straw of information flow between your biological self and your digital self. And we need to make that tiny straw like a giant river.
And it all comes down to the smartphone. It really all comes down to the smartphone. The proliferation of smartphones is central to the rise of mobile banking. What will the bank of the future look like? The rise of fintech came about over the last 5 years primarily as the result of 5 key developments, one of which the rise of the mobile internet. The smartphone, we have supercomputers in our pockets and are always connected. Some of you, think you're very smart because you've never fallen for this smartphone thing. And honestly, I mean, good for you. That is smart. But it's not enough to just opt out. You have to try and spread this message to people. And just look what happened to the Bloomberg guy when he went over to Shenzhen. He couldn't even buy a bottle of water. I don't know. You know, I've been trying to put this together, and I've been going back and forth on whether or not to make it really tight or to try to talk to you like a human being, just human to human, and intersperse my conversation with you with things that I've seen and things that I've read, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to keep making videos like this. I'm going to try to come at it from a whole bunch of different angles until you really get it. Until I hit on the way of saying it that makes you understand that this whole smartphone convenient, oh, but I can just look on a map on my phone and find out where I'm going. Oh, but I can see pictures of my kids instantly. Oh, but I mean, I can order this today and have it here tomorrow. This is grooming. None of those things, none of that will even exist or be useful in your life if this comes to be. All of those toys will be taken away. And all that will remain is the tracking. All that will remain is you'll be funneled into whatever direction they want you to go. Internet at home on your laptop is not the same as these things, not the same at all as these things. Internet isn't bad. Cell phones aren't bad. Convenience is great. But realize that the people trying to keep you hooked into that system are just like drug dealers. They're just like pimps. They're just like child molesters. They are grooming you. They are grooming you. And as soon as we are hooked, as soon as we cannot turn it off, as soon as all of our real money becomes virtual merits, as soon as they hand us our 1,000 points for being good citizens, we're done. There is no going back. The crazy people with billions of dollars who all have this notion that they are the masters of the universe and are this close to turning humans into products. The fourth industrial revolution is their project. They are this close to turning us all into robots. The end of human reproductive capacity and the end of human creativity. These maniacs, these money hoarders, these people who believe themselves to be gods, they are putting the finishing touches on their grand project of enslaving the entire planet, of eliminating free will. I'm going to show you a mini documentary, parts of a mini documentary in a minute by the World Economic Forum about the fourth industrial revolution. We are talking about the people who go to Davos. We are talking about corporate, mega corporate heads and all of their lackeys. We are talking about the old money and the new money. It used to be that there could come new ideas and new approaches because competition existed. And someone would come up with a competing idea that could go up against the big companies. Because the big companies weren't as big as they are now. And because, by and large, people could get access to the same tools that they had in order to compete with them. Not so anymore. The wealth has been siphoned up to the top to such a degree that no small or medium-sized competitor could possibly hope to get their hands on the same tools that they are using. And they say so in their own words. Here, let's listen to this guy. I hope he says it right near the beginning.
Equality and the equality crisis certainly is a child of globalization. You know, the access to capital and the access to this technology that is really available to so few then really gives them this kind of incredible unfair advantage, and up they have gone. I think, coming back to Vishal's comment, I think that when we look at what's happening right now in technology, this is the moment, I think, when we have the highest level of anxiety, because we can see advancements in artificial intelligence that are beyond what we even expected. It's happening at a rate and capability that we're worrying that how will this impact the everyman and also the broad range of workers across the world.
Yeah, he's at least semi-honest. That guy is some punk. I'm sorry, I think everybody's a punk now. Because, I don't know, he started a company. I don't even know what his company does. It's called Salesforce. But he immediately started an NGO with it, or a foundation. And really that's how he's made all his money, because foundations are just gigantic money laundering operations. And we should have stopped them a long time ago. We should have stopped them a long time ago, because we are at a point now when the foundations are directing the largest portion of wealth, I think, across the whole globe, with virtually no taxes and virtually no oversight. And because they also have this built-in PR around them, like they're do-gooders, we don't see that they are the most fascistic organizations out there. It's unbelievable the things they have done. And they have brought this advance in AI that he talked about, and they will bring massive unemployment as the robots and AI work together to build more robots and AI. They don't care if it throws hundreds of millions of people out of work. What they love about them is they're so efficient and they don't complain. They're so much better than humans. The billionaires are enchanted completely by this slave race that they can do anything with and do anything to. The EU is actually proposing a charter of rights for robots now. It's real. It's a real thing. They're really seeking to dispense with humanity, only so far as they can use us, and in the most cynical ways.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high-tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
Let's just look at this part one more time.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
That's from the World Economic Forum on their fourth industrial revolution.
Fourth industrial revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
It changes us. They're bringing together physical, biological, and digital systems.
With the ability to visualize brain activity, for example, through a simple consumer-based EEG device, it gives us access to ourselves in ways that we've never before thought possible. It unlocks the black box that is the brain and enables us to really, truly be able to realize an identity that is aspirational.
There's now a...
You see, when she says us, she doesn't mean us. She doesn't mean us. And when she says realize an identity that's aspirational, she doesn't mean our aspirations. Their aspirations, scientists, mad scientists with billions of dollars and a God complex, they aspire to being transhuman, to being more than human. They are not satisfied with the creation that God made as he made it. They want to be in control of it. Did you hear her? We unlocked the black box of the brain, and now we can realize an identity that is aspirational. And it gets worse, in my opinion. That guy Klaus Schwab, the old German guy, he's like their guru. Okay, listen carefully to her there.
One of the things that I think is so essential to free and open societies is freedom of thought. And up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotions, we have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts, to think creative thoughts. And in a society where people fear having those thoughts, the likelihood of being able to enjoy progress is significantly diminished.
Once we have the ability to access people's thoughts and access people's emotions, did you catch that? Look up Dr. Michael Persinger. He just recently died, but he worked on something called the God Helmet ages ago, and he's been working his whole life on it. And he insisted that we can already access consciousness and real-time thoughts and store them in the magnetosphere. And then they can be accessed at any time by any person. He gave a lecture called No More Secrets, if you want to see. He was fired, and then he died. And I wonder if it wasn't for his technology. I mean, that's a total guess. And I know that that woman clearly stated on a documentary about the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which was published by the World Economic Forum and discussed at Davos. She said that once they can access people's thoughts and emotions, then they can really start to work.
One of the things that I think is so essential to free and open societies is freedom of thought. And up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotions, we have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts, to think creative thoughts. And in a society where people fear having those thoughts, the likelihood of being able to enjoy progress is significantly diminished.
How disgusting! This is what the elites have always done. they've always come in and taken something away from us that was naturally ours, and then given it back to us as if they had a right to do that. And, you know, they did it with the commons, where people used to be able to grow food, and they had access to lands, and then they took the commons away from us and gave it back to us in the form of parks, which they put rules on. And now they want to do it with our thoughts. They literally want to take our thoughts away so that they can access them and then create a space where we're free to express them. Like a park, like the commons, but upstairs, in our heads, in our consciousness. Because emotions are something other than thoughts. Our memories are something other than thoughts. They no longer have any use for us. This is going to be a post-productive society. You should watch the rest of that video because there's a lot in there. I'm just concentrating on that one creepy lady. But there's also the lady that wants zero, like a circle economy. Digisexuals demand human rights enshrined by UN to have sex with AI robots. So we're out here battling over bathrooms. Literally. And they are holding meetings, unabashedly publishing them on the web, and they're telling us that they are going to dispense with the notion of humans as some sort of natural concept, that they're going to colonize our thoughts and emotions, and then they're going to give them back to us in a safe space. They're going to turn waste products into food, and they're going to give us all a little bit of money to live on in this basic annual income or whatever they call it. We're going to be jammed into cities. We're going to be given what they think we deserve, all of us the same. We won't really have access to travel or vehicles or nature. God knows what food products they're going to give us. We won't be in control of how warm or cool to keep our surroundings. I doubt we'll have work. But it's okay because we'll be kept comfortable by the fact that we're not fully human anymore. They will be using things like dreads, designer drugs, which go into our bodies. They can just be inhaled. And they change the receptors in our brain so that we can be communicated with by LED light. This is all real. And so we will live in a virtual reality type of world. That's how they're going to end the production cycle. You see things you like? You want to buy them? You buy them in virtual reality and you enjoy them in virtual reality. I was looking at an article earlier about about how Brits are soon going to be able to change the decor in their home with the flip of a switch. How do you think that's possible in this world? In the world where humans are fully natural, that's not possible. 5G is going to allow them to kind of enact this global grid. And I'm sure there's going to be a few test countries that get it first. And my honest feeling is that Canada has been positioned to be that test country ever since Trudeau came into office. He has decimated our industry. He has decimated our energy. And right now, China has just decided not to buy our canola, which will decimate some more farmers. Energy, manufacturing, and food are three big components of the fourth industrial revolution. And with the recession that's going to hit us, perhaps all our people will start going on the basic annual income, moved into the cities, tracked through the 5G, and so it will have begun. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing the end game coming into view. The technological control via censoring speech on the internet mainly is integral to their plan technology itself is the end game. The Internet of Things plus 5G plus digital IDs are going to create smart cities where the feedback from our environments is read in real time. They'll track us in real time. They'll know every penny we spend. They'll know every joule of energy we put out. They'll know every thought we have, every communication we undertake. They will know everything. They want to make their little prototype worlds like this, and they call them smart cities. It's the end of freedom. They say you're essentially ceding your sovereignty to Google and the absolute authority they would have over all data. And people hear the word data and they think of numbers maybe. But we're talking about everything from our heart rates to how we spend our time and how we spend our money, to who we love, to what we look at, to what's in our fridge, to how we care for our children. Everything is data. Everything. And Google will have it all in these smart cities. And we don't know how they'll use it. So here, what would you think about this? Think about the fact that George Soros and the Koch brothers are coming together to censor the regular people, to censor people. They're calling it hate, but really what it is opposition to them. It's a power grab. It might be the final power grab before we absolutely have no way of fighting back. That's how I'm looking at it. And yeah, it's really, really scary. You need to get rid of your smartphones. You need to cut your subscriptions. You need to end that relationship. The smartphone is the key to the technological control grid. Sure, they probably have a stage beyond that, because I do believe they will eventually want to implant the technology that is currently available in the smartphones into our bodies. I believe that that day would come. But in order to justify that, they need to have the whole entire population dependent on a smartphone and show them how convenient it is and make it impossible for that population to exist without a smartphone. They need to do that first. So in other words, they're going to do all our healthcare, all our government, our voting, our banking, our education, our pay packets, our benefits, everything will come through the smartphone eventually. We don't want to get there. And as it stands right now, we can exist quite comfortably without a smartphone, without data packages on our phone. You can still bank, you can still buy groceries, you can still get paid. You can still do everything without a smartphone. And that's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of this protest. It's not a protest. It's not a boycott. It's not an action. What it is a refusal to willingly go down this technological road to our total enslavement. These words sound hyperbolic, I realize that. But what are you going to do on the day when they say, there aren't any bank branches anymore? You have to have a digital ID on this phone. And in fact, there's no Service Canada, there's no DMV, there's no government departments at all. It's all through this phone. That's your whole ID. That's you. That's you, baby. You lose that thing, you've lost everything. You can't opt out. That's where we're going. But we're not there yet. Check this out. Look here. The global revenue made from telecom services is expected to reach almost 1.2 trillion euros in 2019. At this point, if we were to cancel our cell phones, $1.2 trillion gone from their coffers, and probably a lot more. We can stop the forward march of how much of the population already has the data on their phones. United Kingdom 82%, Netherlands 79%, Sweden 78%, Germany 78%, United States 77%, and on down the line here. You can pause and have a look at that. Check it out. I find it coincidental that the higher the smartphone penetration into these countries, the worse the globalist problems they're having is. We can stop the progress of their technological dystopia in its tracks just by getting rid of the smartphones. And look, we pay. The joke of it is we are paying for that. Every month we write a check to one of these multinational corporations for our own enslavement. Deloitte, one of the foremost companies keeping track of how the elite can make money while ruining the world. 5G ushers in a new world of opportunities. This is their report. What's ahead for telecom providers in 2019? Fifth generation wireless technologies will be gaining ground quickly, unleashing the full potential of augmented and virtual reality, smart cities, and Internet of Things. That's how they're planning to make their next big bundle. Smart cities, Internet of Things, 5G. These are all connected. Really, one doesn't work very well without the other. Taking away the conduit, taking away your participation and your funding from that nightmare world is so easy. It costs you nothing. It's effortless. I think they would freak out. I think they would lose it. I think that if enough people did it, you would see how fast they react. I think you would see that I'm right about how integral smartphones are to their plans, because I think these companies would actually start working with the government to try to give us cell phones for free, or smartphones for free, and mobile packages for free. Or they would do something very underhanded and get a partnership with the government where it's built into our taxes, and we go every year and we pick up our smartphones and we sign up for our package, because they need us to have it. They need us to participate in this technological nightmare world they're building. It's worth a shot, isn't it? Take away their money, take away their control, take away their ability to lead us around by the nose, take away their plans for the future, and make them expose themselves. Make them expose themselves, because you can bet they will fight us tooth and nail. They will not like us to get rid of our smartphones. And will that maybe wake people up? Will they say, why? Why can't we just choose to not have a smartphone? Why can't I just have a normal cell phone? They're taking us on a road to nowhere. And we're the idiots out front clearing the trees. We could stop. They are in their end game. And if we can stop them by saving money every month, spending more time with our family, and getting back to basics with a simpler telephone, why wouldn't we do it? Ditch your smartphone.